Thanks for tuning in today. So today's class, again, I've really been getting great feedback as far as strengthening shoulders and strengthening hips. It's very good to strengthen the hip flexors in order to forward bend. So that'll be a big part of the class. I'll be twisting you. So what you'll need is a block and a strap, and if you don't have it, it's just a way to measure. The block will be a way of measuring how to lift your leg in space. So at some point you'll be standing and doing work with the strap or grabbing your foot and taking the leg out in different directions. So that'll be some of it. I have an exciting announcement. I have a new class on Wednesday nights, and this is from 6:30 to 7:30. It's a restorative class. So if you've ever taken a restorative class, it's longer holds, supported positions. I'll also be implementing work for shoulders and for knees and hips and spine, some mobility, some light work just to help you in restoring an old injury. And then I'll be doing some breath work at the end of those classes. So that's a great class. To register for those classes, you can go to my website. It's jonwittyoga.com. You can buy a mask if you're interested in a mask for yourself or for a friend. And we're continuing to distribute masks as we are getting donations. All the donations are supporting us as a family, but it's 10% of the proceeds goes towards making more masks. And you can also donate on my website or go to Venmo or PayPal, and that's under my name, Jon Witt Yoga. You can always email me or DM me directly through Instagram or Facebook if you have any questions about the classes or if you need something specific in terms of an injury. I'd love to help you more. If you've been really benefiting from the classes, it helps me. I'm excited of helping more people, and you can always share it with people through your social media or just through conversation. Let people know that what you're doing, and it'll inspire them to practice too as well. So to start, we're going to come into a seated position. So I'm going to sit where my legs are forward and my knees are bent. And I'm just going to push through the hands, and I'm just going to let the chest depress down. So just rounding the back. Then I'm going to push through the hands and lift through the chest and broad through the shoulders. So I'm going to let the chest kind of collapse here. And then I'll lift the chin, I'll lift the chest. I'll push through the hands and I'll rotate the shoulders out. I'm going to let the chest drop down. And then lifting. So when I'm lifting, I'm using my hands, but you also want to be encouraging by lifting through the torso, not just through the hands. You can let the chest drop down. One more time, we'll lift the chin, we'll lift the chest. So push through the hands, rotate the shoulders out, and then just keep that. And if you can, lift the hips up off the floor. So push through the feet, lift through the hips. As you're in this, I'm just going to move the weight a little bit around side to side. So I'm moving into my left hand, into my right. You can feel how your wrists are relating in space in terms of holding your pose. And then I'm going to come back into the middle, and if I can, I'm going to take the head back. And the head, it's great if it's static and it's good, but you may want to move the head a little bit in order to understand where your head should sit in space. So we'll bring the hips down, and then when you bring the hips down, you can wrap the arms around the legs. So I'm going to wrap around, I'm going to push the knees out into my arms. I'm just going to look over my left shoulder. I'll look over my right. I'll look over my left again. I'll look back over my right. And then I'll come back in the middle. I'm going to lift the head, I'm going to lift the chin, I'm going to lift the chest. I take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring the head back to neutral. Now bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Push through the hands. Lift through the hips. Just one more time, we're going to lift up. And then as you push through the hands, think I'm pulling your hips towards your feet. So if you can get a little bit of traction in that direction, because the hands are so heavy here, you should feel a little bit more length through the spine. So take a couple more breaths. Again, not bad to come out of poses. You could be down with the hips and still extending your position. So bring the head forward and bring the hips down. And then when you bring the hips down, this is when I'm going to use the strap a little bit. If you have good strength in your hip, you don't necessarily need a strap. So I'm gonna have my block out in front of me, and then I'm just gonna practice taking the left leg up off the floor, and then lifting the right leg up, and then taking the left, and then the right leg up, left again, and then right back up. And then, so what we're gonna do is take the leg up and then practice taking it out to the side, which will help with your hips. So if I don't have a lot of strength in the hip, I'll take the strap around my foot, and I'm relying on the strap as little as I can. So the strap we can eventually use it to stretch out the leg, but I'm using it more to strengthen your hips. So I'm gonna take the left leg up, and then when I take it up, I wanna hold with just my left hand, and then I'm gonna take it out to the left, but remember, I'm trying to keep it up as best as I can without the strap. Maybe you don't take it out as far as I am. That's really not that important. You can bring it forward and you can bring it down. Now, if that was easy for you, change the height. You could go to the second level or the highest level. So when I'm taking it up and I'm taking it out to the side without the strap. So continue to use the strap if you need it, right? Not bad. And then when you take it out, find an angle that your hip is inflexible in this. And then when you take it up, you want to keep lifting, moving out, difficult. Obviously, you're breathing. Foot could be pointed, foot could be flexed. Right, bring it back into the middle and then bring it down. And then, again, if it's easy or you want to try it, you can do it without the hand. So I'm going to lift it up, and then I'm going to clear the block and take it out to the side. But I want to keep it up. I can be down low if that's where your abilities are. But I'm going to try to lift it up, and then I could bring it down. And the block could be, say you have a more difficult time lifting the leg up, it could be, on a midway, right? I'm going to take it midway just so that I'm giving you a different look at this. So strap the right foot or the left, whichever leg you didn't do, and then lift it up in space. Try to pull it up into the chest, and then take it out to the right. And then when you take it out to the right, keep grounding down through your hips, because eventually you're doing this in a standing position. You can bring it forward, keep lifting it up, bring it down. And again, maybe the block needs to be lower for you. Lift the leg up. High is nice, but you might see that you're actually compensating to take the leg up higher. Like some people lean back to take it up. You want to be able to sit up nice and tall without making yourself kind of contort, right? Bring the leg down. And then again, if you wanted to do it without the strap, I'm going to take the leg up. And then you get creative, you could stack the blocks up even higher, because eventually we can take the leg more to the face, which is very good for your hips. And then bring the right foot down, then have the hands beside you again, push through the hands, push through the feet, lift the hips up off the floor. It's good to expose more of the front of your hips here. So push through the hands, rotate the shoulders out, take the head back in space if you can, and then bring the head forward and bring the hips down. So come onto your hands and your knees, and if you can, tuck the toes and sit back towards the feet. And this is all that you may be able to do, is sitting back like I am. But if you wanted to sit up, you could sit up more. I've been using these from time to time as I'm flicking my fingers. And by flicking my fingers, it'll help with my wrists, my knuckles. So you have some arthritis in the hands. Like anything, see if it helps, and if it doesn't, static manipulation's probably better than movement. But movement could be really helpful, and that's why I'm using it. And then just independently move the fingers. As you independently move the fingers, you'll help with the wrists, right? And then go into a fist position with the right hand and pull the fist towards the chest. Just a little bit of pressure to start. And as this gets easier, you can apply more pressure, because eventually you could be doing this on your hands with the floor. Then bring the left hand into a fist and then pull back on the left fist towards the chest. And again, you'll feel more of a stretch through the forearm. I felt it more in my hand on my right side. I feel it more in my forearm on my left, It's just a different sensation. And then just bring the hands down and untuck the toes if you can and sit back on the feet. So just a different way. Now hands could be underneath the knees, you could put blankets underneath your knees or in between the calf muscles and the hamstrings. And then we'll go back to tucking the toes, right? And then back into sitting back on the feet. So these types of positions, it'll help rotate the shin in. So if you looked in the mirror at your shins, or if you took a photo of yourself, you might see that one shin, the tibia, it rotates out too much or in, and that can affect the knee. So if you see that and it's pretty dramatic or different, could be a big influence as far as why the knee might be bothering you. So come onto your hands and your knees, and as you come onto your hands and your knees, grip the floor, round through the shoulders, and lift the knees up off the floor. So you're lifting the knees up, and then as you lift the knees up up off the floor, continue to lift through the pubic bone, right? Push through the hands. So like push, not as strong as you can, right? Initially, but push enough so that you can feel the shoulders and the arms support you, and that'll help you in all these straight arm positions. Then take it back up into a down dog, and then in a down dog you could pedal the legs out. Right? You can move, I'm moving the heels down independently, right? And then come back into a plank and lift through the pubic bone, right? And then lower the knees, and what you'll do is you're going to take the left leg out to the left, just like the strap, very similar to what we did with the strap, with just a different angle. Now, if it's easy enough for you, take the leg up a little bit higher, and I'm not necessarily taking it higher if I can't, right? I don't want to distort the upper body if I am to take the leg up more, right? Then bring the left leg down, and then take the right leg up to the right. So lift it up to the right, move it out to the side, and the more you take your leg up, you'll start to notice how it's going to stretch out your back more. So I've said this before, if you've taken my class, it's really, the lower body work is really benefiting the upper body. And then bring the right knee down, and then go back up into a plank. So lift the knees, lift the thighs, grip through the floor, push through the hands, and then take it back up into a down dog. And then as you go up into a down dog, you can pull back through the hips. So push strong through the hands. Think I'm pulling your arms forward. Think you're pulling your hips back in space. Come forward and through into an up dog if you can. So arms are straight, pelvis or pubic bone is lifting. And then take it back into a down dog. Go back up into a down dog. And then come down on the knees. And when you come down on the knees, sit back into a child's pose if you can. If you can't sit back all the way, also very beneficial. It's just now, it's a deeper fold. It's more hip flexion. And if it's the hip that doesn't flex as much, I'm just using my left hip as an example. When I sit back, I could use my hand to create space from my hip to my thigh. And that's a very good way to create more of a fold in the hip, because you may have some arthritis, and that might be contributing to why the hip doesn't flex as much. Right? Come back up to all fours, and then just move the weight around a little bit in the hands if you can. So adjust the wrists, adjust the shoulders, adds more weight in the hands, but it's just for a moment. That's why I like it. And then eventually, you could do these even in plank if you haven't done that yet. So come back up into plank, lift the knees up off the floor, reach back through the heels, take it back up into a down dog. Pull back through the thighs, pull back through the hips, push strong through the insides of the hands, so the thumb, the index fingers. So I'm pushing through that point of my hands to rotate the shoulders out more. And then walk the feet forward to the middle of your mat, walk your hands back towards your feet, and then separate your feet, about the width of your shoulders or wider. Grab the elbows, bend the knees, push the knees apart. As you push the knees apart, like if I'm wanting to build up more strength, I'm going to stay at 90, right? If I'm wanting to work more in terms of stretching or flexibility, that has its place, right? You can sit down low into a squat, right? And I've said this before, you could hold on to an external weight. fill up a backpack with some books, and then you'll be able to squat better. So I'm just moving the weight around in a low squat. And then as you move the weight around, you can actually feel how the bones move. You can feel how the ball within the pelvis is getting some motion to it. And if it doesn't move, like let's say your body does, everything kind of moves in one piece, over time, most likely it will move again. So come back into a standing forward bend, fold all the way forward, and then in a standing forward bend, take the hands to the left side, change the angle, take your hands wider if you can, between the hands a wider space. You'll get more of a stretch through the back and through the shoulders. Take the hands to the right, and then the right arm is reaching back and the left arm is reaching forward. Now I could bend my knees more, I could work on getting my legs more straight, and then take the hands back into the middle and roll yourself up to standing. So come back up, and then as you come up, take the hands behind the head and move the head back in space. So push through the feet, lift through the pubic bone, lean back into your hands. And let's say you can't go back any further, perfectly fine. We continue to go up, and then you'll be able to go back further, right? Come back into the middle, take the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, and then come up onto the toes with the heels off the floor. So lifting the heels, and then exhale, you can lower the heels. You can exhale, you can lower the arms. So take the left leg up in space, so the left leg is up. Take the left leg out to the left. As you take it out to the left, think that the left knee is touching the left shoulder. Bring it back into the middle. Use your hands as much as you need to. Again, especially if you have a difficult time squatting, pull in strong with the arms, because you may actually need more passive manipulation. I mean, it's active, but it's more just stretching, right? Bring the left leg down, then take the right leg up into the chest, with or without your hand. Pull it up and in. If you're at 90, you most likely need more leverage, and that can come from your arms, because you could actively do it, and you might not develop the range that you actually need. You can take the right leg out to the right. As you take it out to the right, push down through the left foot, so the right knee is coming up towards the right shoulder. Of course, use a wall to support yourself. Bring the right leg in, pull it in, and then bring the right foot down. So come to the top of the mat, take the arms up overhead, fold forward into a forward fold, step the left foot back into a long runner's lunge, and in a long runner's lunge, I'm gonna stay here if I need to, right? I'm gonna come up into a high lunge if that's what I need today. So when I come up into lunging and the heel is up, it's much easier in the back, much more difficult to balance. So it's good to be off balance in practicing, because it'll make the balance better. So bring the hands down and take the right arm up to the ceiling. And with the right arm up, rotate your left arm out. So rotate the eye of the elbow forward, and then rotate it in, rotate it back out again, and then take it up so that the hand is open. Bring the right hand down and step the left foot forward. And with the left foot forward, just take a couple breaths in a forward bend. Step your right foot back into a lunge, and with the right foot back, push through the feet. Use your front foot to bring yourself up, overhead position. You're framing your arms with your head. You're getting your head in alignment of the arms, right? So take a couple deep breaths here, lift through the pubic bone, drop down through the heel of the left foot, and then bring the hands down, and with the hands down, take the left arm up to the ceiling. So push strong with your right hand. There's a difference between just bringing the weight into the hand and pushing. So you're gonna rotate the left shoulder back, and then rotate it forward, rotate it back again, bring it forward, last time rotate it back, and then bring the left hand down, and the left hand down, you'll step the right foot forward. So both feet will be forward, you'll be in a forward fold. I'm going to come into a squat again. You can sit the hips back. You can sit all the way down. Take a couple deep breaths here. Look over your left shoulder. So look high over the left shoulder. So you're doing a little bit of twisting. At some point I'll do a twist from a low squat. You can look over the right. My left shoulder armpit is into my left knee, and then that's giving me more space between the shoulders. I'm looking high over my right shoulder. And then come back into a standing forward bend. Fold all the way forward and roll yourself back up. And then when you roll up, take the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, bend the knees, take a couple deep breaths in an overhead position, bring the weight into the heels of the feet, and then bring yourself back up, and you can bring your arms down. So if you can, like this position, opening up, very good. But let's say you're interested in stretching up the hip more, or you're trying to, you could use your strap. You could strap the foot and then take it forward. I'm going to pull the left leg in, and then when I pull the left leg in, I may be able to reach across with my right hand. I could grab my left foot. I could take it forward and push it into a wall, or you could push it down into a piece of furniture. I'm trying to keep the leg up as best that I can. So remember, we were doing those leg lifts. You want to be able to keep it up as opposed to just relying on your hand. You can look over the left shoulder, drive through the right heel, look forward, bring the left foot down, and take the right foot up off the floor. So pull it into the chest. Maybe this is the pose, right? This is a perfectly good thing to do. You could strap it or reach for the foot with the left hand and then take the right leg forward. Your right knee's pointing straight up to the ceiling. You can take the right arm back in space. So when you're in this type of position, extend the heel forward, right? Get into the outside of the hip, but still try to keep the right leg up with not as much support with the hand that's holding the foot or the strap that's holding the foot. And then you could turn forward and you could bring the right foot down. Inhale, take the arms up overhead and fold forward into a forward fold. So come down onto your hands and your knees, and from a hand and knee position, just let the chest drop down in between the arms and then push through the hands. So round your back. So different than a cat-cow, scapula push-ups they are. So let the chest drop down and then push through the hands, round through the upper back. Right? Now I'm going to come down onto my elbows, and then when I come down on my elbows, my forearms, I still want to be pushing really strong through the forearm and the elbow if I can. And this could be the position, of course, right? I'm going to rotate my heels to the left and take my right arm up. So I'm going to open through the shoulders. So not that further back is bad, but think wider. And the wider you get through the shoulders, the easier it is to take the arm back more. Bring the right arm down, spin the heels to the right side, keep pushing through the right arm, take the left arm up, and keep your hips up. So as the hips are elevated, again, wide shoulders, lift your head. It could also be down, Maybe the left side of your neck needs more stretching than you need to strengthen it, right? Bring the left arm down, hold the plank for a couple of breaths, and then come down with the knees, come down with the thighs, and you're just in a basic Sphinx position. So look high over the left shoulder, and then look high over the right, and then look forward in space. Continue to pull yourself forward. Now, I've been teaching kind of a variation in Sphinx pose. So I'm going to take the left arm off the floor, but you may struggle with your balance. So the right arm could be more in the center of the mat, right? That might help you more. So I'm going to take my left arm up off the floor by staying up, and I'm going to take it back in space. So remember when we were taking the leg up off the floor over the block, you could think that there's something like this would be a great object for that, right? Or a chair. And then bring it forward in space like you're shaking hands with someone. Left hand is forward. Keep yourself up more from the strength of your back rather than your arm. Take it up to the side one more time. Lift yourself up. You could look past the left shoulder. Bring it forward, bring it down. And then just for a couple breaths, just take the feet off the floor if you can. So you're just up and more for the front of your hip. And then bring the feet down. And then you're going to take the arm up to the side. So I just need to move just so that I have enough space. So just come down for a couple of breaths. Just relax. Your back can get kind of crampy, or it might just kind of fatigue. Bring yourself up if you're ready to come up. Take the right arm out to the right. As you take it out to the right, keep rotating the shoulder out and back. It could be down and in too, but most likely you need more rotation out. Bring it forward like you're shaking hands with someone. Keep yourself lifting. Take it out to the right again. Reach back for the back of the room. Keep yourself up. And then bring your right forearm down, and you're down in a Sphinx. So maybe you don't want to do a cobra. Before we do a cobra, I'm going to do a Shalabhasana. So come all the way down. Take a couple breaths. Head could rest in the hands or the arms or the floor. You're up for it. Bring your arms beside you. Lift your chest, lift your feet up off the floor. And say it's just like a lot of effort to come up. It's probably a combination of inflexibility. Also, you might not be strong in your extensors of your spine. So bring yourself down, have your hands just underneath your shoulders. Come up into a low cobra or into something higher. And I've said this, often in these classes, have something underneath your pelvis or your abdomen if you need that support. That's a great way of doing it. You just never would see it in a yoga ad, right? But you might need that kind of support for your back and coming up. So when I come down, I'm going to come all the way down. I'm going to bring myself down. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes. Lift straight up into a plank. And go back up into a down dog. And then walk your feet forward to the middle of your mat. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Walk your hands forward, top of the mat. Walk your feet forward, you're in a forward fold. Right? Step the left foot back into a lunge. And with the left foot back, and I've done this before, is I'm going to bring a block underneath my left thigh. So it just adds a little bit more leverage in terms of supporting better hip extension. So your back bending is difficult. Some of it might have to pertain to how much you extend through your hips. So my block's on the highest level. You might not be able to get down as low as I am, but I'm going to try to bring my right elbow to the floor or to a block. Right? Now, you could bring the block lower if you have the flexibility. Then you could get the elbow down. Not important to get it down, but it's really for your shoulders. And then turn from your abdomen, turn through your chest, push through your left hand, and then take the right arm up. So get really broad through the shoulders, get broad through your back. And then bring the right arm down, the right hand, and then take the block out, and you can put it off to the side. And take the hands to the left side and look over the left shoulder. So I'm repeating this so that if you took photos of yourself 6 months later, 12 months later, it'll look completely different. So it's just a matter of doing it over and over and over again. Take the hands back into the middle. If you can, get lower with your elbows, your forearms, and then this will be for the hips. Now think that you're picking your right foot up off the floor. There's two ways to do this. You could drive through the foot, or you could think of pulling it back. Both can be beneficial, right? Now come up onto your hands, and when you come up onto your hands, I'm going to sit the hips back, and just for stretching the leg out, the right leg, you could use a wall or a chair, but I'm going to extend forward from my sternum. And I've said this before, if I come forward and around, not that that's bad, but it's not going to stretch the leg out as much, the hamstring. Now I'm going to bring my hand onto a block, and you might have to bring it back to the hip. And remember when we were lifting the leg off the floor. So you want the leg to be lifting in action, not necessarily literally off the floor. But if you wanted to do that, you could. And then bring it down. And then when you take that back knee up off the floor, right, come up into a warrior one on the right side. So bring yourself up into a warrior one. You could push the hands together, classic approach. You could be in a thumb lock, right? Lots of great options. Open and close the hands throughout the day. Again, if you have really stiff hands or weak hands or forearms. And then just straighten through the right leg, push through the feet, organize your hips more to the top of the mat. And then I'm going to bring the hands down. I'm going to set my left foot in some of the way. So for some of you that have stuff going on in your knee, partial weight bearing can be better than full weight bearing, right? But I could come forward into a warrior three. Right, a couple deep breaths. Know that you could always bring your left foot down. So you're extending your upper body away from your back leg. Then bring yourself up into a warrior one. And warrior one, express through the arms, lift through the arms. Have the right leg straight, take the hands behind the head, and move the head back a little bit. So get the head to move back, push through the feet, lift through the chest. Come back to neutral, take the right arm up to the ceiling. Actually left arm, so left arm is high, right hand is down beside you. And I'm bringing the left, I'm gonna move my stance shorter and then bring my left hand on the inside with a block, or forward than the foot or outside of the foot. I'm gonna turn to the upper body, I'm gonna take the right arm up to the ceiling. So broad shoulders, broad upper back, drive through the right foot, turn through the chest. And again, maybe lower is better, but lower is most likely gonna be more difficult for you. So you might wanna take your time in getting lower as opposed to just going all the way down, which, again, has its place. So turn your chest, push through your left hand, push through your right foot, and then bring the right hand down, bend the right knee, and step the left foot forward. Separate the feet again about the width of the shoulders or wider. Sit into a low squat if you can. Same thing with the hip, is I could use my hand to support my knee. Might be tricky to do. Hold with one hand to keep yourself up, but use the other hand, like if I was holding onto a wall, hold with one hand, but use the other hand behind the problematic knee. You get two knees that give you trouble, wrap something around one knee, use your hand on the other, do it on both knees, right? Full forward into a forward fold, and in a forward bend, you can just take a couple deep breaths. Step the right foot back into a lunge, and with the right foot back, I'm gonna bring the block on the highest level into my thigh, just above my knee. So I like that, so it's a fuller extension. And it reminds me a lot of Supta Virasana in the sensation in the hip. So that's a very difficult pose for most people. So bring the right elbow, actually left elbow down on the floor. So bring it down, rotate through the shoulders, just a little bit to the right, right? Getting the arm down, not critical. Could be your second block, right? And then inhale, take the left arm up to the ceiling. And you could rotate the shoulder back, right, the whole time, or you could be manipulating it in and out the whole time, which will help with the shoulders. Bring the left hand down, move the block out of the way, and with the block out of the way, you're gonna walk the hands over to the right hip and look high over the right shoulder. So again, it'll help you with driving a car, riding a bike, even when I'm walking, especially when I'm walking in the city, I always look over my shoulder before I actually move, right, just so that I don't run into something or someone. Right, and then bring the hands back in the middle, and you can get your elbows lower. And by getting your elbows lower, it's just more leverage. I said this on the right side, you want to either think of pushing strong through both feet, or think that you're retracting your left knee up to the ceiling. And that's, both are beneficial, both are needed. Then bring yourself up, have your block with you just in case you need it the whole time. And then say I'm up and I'm able to balance without my hands, my foot is flexed. I'm gonna guide myself forward from my upper body, from my sternum. I don't want to be rounding my back, especially if I have a problematic back. So I'm coming forward, I'm extending forward. Now with this, initially drive your left heel down the floor and you'll feel more exposure into the hamstring. If you like the lifting of the leg, if I only have one block, I'll place it in the center behind the hamstring. I'll point the foot, I'll take it up, right? I could do it where it's closer or further away from me and take it up. But you'll see which hip is actually stronger. Like my left side is significantly stronger than my right for something like this, all right? and then bring it down. Now come back into a lunge and take the back knee up off the floor. When you take the back knee up off the floor, make it a little bit shorter and come up into a warrior one. Elevate the arms, elevate the chest, lift through the pubic bone. Keep driving through the feet. Use what's not participating, possibly your feet, possibly your legs, possibly your abdomen. And then straighten the left leg out. Take the hands behind the head and move the head back in space. So lift through the pubic bone, drop through the tail, extend the chest up, collarbone's lifting, right? Come back into overhead position and then bend the left knee. And this could be repeated. Maybe you don't want to come forward into warrior three, right? But I'm going to step the right foot forward some of the way. And that could be the beginning, could be the pose in itself. I could come forward where I'm taking the back leg up off the floor. And like I said, wobbling is not bad. Doesn't mean that you have poor balance. It's just some positions will give you more difficulty than others. And in my opinion, when it's challenging you, it's benefiting you more, right? Come back up into a warrior one. Like any of the Hatha poses or any kind of physical training, when it gets easy, that's time to change the pose or change the way that you're doing it. Have the left leg straight and bring the left hand on the left hip and move the right foot in closer and lift from your right arm and turn forward. So turn from the upper body. You're turning through the thoracic, and then bring the right hand down on the floor, and you could start high and be there the whole time, right? You could take the left arm up, but like I say for side planks, is you want to be driving through the hand that's down. And the further you get the hand down and you push, right, the more space you're providing through the shoulders. I like the hand more forward, and then that's more range. If I'm looking for more space, I'll go outside the lines of a classic approach. Not that the classic approach is bad or you shouldn't do that. That's a great way. Turn through the upper body, and then bring the left hand down, then bend the left knee, and then step the right foot forward. So both feet are forward. You're in a forward fold. Bring the hands into the floor again. With the hands on the floor, step back into a plank. So grip the floor, lift through the belly, lift through the muscles around the ribs, and then pull back up into a down dog, right? And pull back through the hips. Now, touch your left thigh with your left hand if you can. Bring it down. Push strong through the right hand. Reach with the left hand for the left leg. Bring it back. Now, if you want to grab the foot, you're going to have to bend the knees and reach with the left hand for the right foot, and then elevate the hips up. Now I'm turning my heels out. I'm bringing more weight into my left foot. If all the weight's on my right, it's like a tightrope and I could tip over. Bring the left hand down and then reach across with the right hand for the left thigh. Bring it down if you need it. Reach for the left calf muscle. Bring it down. Bend the knees, reach all the way across for the heel or any part of the foot, and then lift the hips up. Turn through the chest. Use your arm as much as you need to, but sometimes people use more of their arm and then just not a great sensation. So I'm turning my head towards my left arm, and then that's freeing up the right side of my neck. Bring the right hand back, and then come down onto your knees and sit back into just a different variation of child's pose. So if you got a decent child's pose, have the knees together and make your right hand into a fist. And you could push into any part of the abdomen, right? There's a lot of different points that you could push into. And then what you'll do is you'll come forward over the hands, right? If you had something to drink before class or eat, right? Probably not a good idea to do this, but I'm manipulating the abdomen, and it could be just your hands, your fingers. So say that's like, oh, that's not the best sensation. Just use your fingertips to start, and then this can help release your back. Take one more deep breath here. And then you can take the hands out and then come back onto your elbows, come back onto your forearms. Lift the knees up off the floor. Take a couple breaths here. Bring the knees down, bring the thighs down, just in a basic Sphinx pose. And then I'm gonna go back to moving the arm off the floor again. If that was, if that's helping you, right, we wanna use it. So I'm lifting my left arm off the floor. I'm gonna take it out to the side. Now when I take it out to the side, I'm still thumb up, but if I take it back further, I'm gonna turn the thumb down, right? For some people, they could turn it up. You could turn it up. You could bring it forward. Keep the chest up. Bring it up and out. And then bring it back. Turn the thumb up. And bring the forearm down. So same thing on the right side. Take the right arm forward. Take it out to the side. I'm just running out of space. As you take it out to the side, keep the chest up. You can look to the hand. Palm could be down. It could be up as well. You could turn it, the palm up or the thumb up and bring it forward. Take it back in space. Turn the thumb down halfway or all the way back. Then when you come forward, turn it up. And then it's an external rotation. So bring the right forearm down. And then just come down, rest the forehead into the hands. Couple deep breaths. And then what you could do is come up onto all fours and then sit on your block in between your feet. So sit on 2 blocks. I'm on a half a block. You could be on the lowest level. I'm pulling back the skin on my knees, and then it's just easier to sit. The patella, the bony mass below the actual kneecap can be a bit jagged, and that can cause some pain in the knee. So I'm just kind of seeing how my weight sits. So if you're a person that likes doing breath work or meditation, I highly recommend videotaping yourself, and you'll see after about a few minutes, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you've got a stronger practice, you'll see the body kind of get natural and just kind of sit, and you can see very well the asymmetry. And by knowing the asymmetry, then you can correct it. So you can have the hands into fists at a cactus position, and then just bring the hands forward, height of the shoulders, and then maybe bring the hands a little bit lower, right, to rotate the shoulders in, and then take it back in space. Right, open the shoulders, bring it forward, bring it down, take it back up again, and then bring the arms down. Now if you're interested in sitting lower, you can try to sit lower. Say you go down, just doesn't work, it's too much, go back to the original position. Say you're like, hey, this is getting easier and I want to sit back more. You could always, I'm on the floor. Not that that's so important. I'm never really disappointed on a day that I can't sit low or I can't go back, right? It's just, I'm just not doing it on that day. But I know very well that I'll be able to do it again. And I think that's a really great approach, and so that you're not tearing yourself up, all right? So I'm gonna come up onto my knees, and I could go back to sitting on a higher placement of the blocks. I'm gonna do an asymmetrical back bend, a camel. So my toes are tucked. I'm looking to my left foot. I'm gonna reach back for my left foot. So, same rotations that we did in the shoulders, right? Same rotation that you did in triangle. So again, the majority of the thoracic is to rotate you. So you're rotating, and then you're extending, right, from the lower back. And if I'm looking down, very good for the neck. If I'm looking up, bring yourself back up, turn to the right, look to the right foot. Don't get caught up if you can't touch the foot, really not that important. Even if I'm grabbing the foot, I'm trying to go away from the foot. I'm not trying to go lower, I'm actually trying to go higher. Not to say that you shouldn't go low, you could very well go lower. And then bring yourself back up. Untuck the toes and just sit back on the feet or block, right, just for a couple breaths. Sit nice and tall, nice and upright, but the rotations really help in getting you to move better. Not really twisting that much, unless you're, a very active person, more like labor type of work, right? Come back up. You come back up, you're on the tops of the feet now, not the heels up. I'm gonna look, rotate to the left. Again, not really concerned with grabbing the foot. I could even grab the opposite foot, something you could eventually do. So keep lifting through the upper body, keep lifting through the pubic bone, keep pushing down through the shins of your feet. Bring yourself up. Again, your body will tell you when to come out of poses. You listen, you'll be able to hold things longer, do more progressive things. Turn to the right, push through the shins, the feet, maybe you're grabbing the right foot. Nice big rotation. And again, I could hold the foot and push away. And that's kind of what you're doing when you grab your big toe in a revolved triangle, right? Take one more breath here. And then bring yourself back up. And then when you come back up, you can come off, sit down for a few breaths. Get yourself together, right? That can be a lot for people, right? Take your time. Bring the legs forward if you're ready to move forward and on. And just take the legs forward and then just circle the feet. So get the feet to circle around. Circle the feet in the opposite direction. Point the feet, flex the feet, point them and flex them. Go back to bending the knees. Have the hands underneath the shoulders. Lift the hips up off the floor. Should be easier, as you back bend. Move the weight forward if you can, just for a moment. And move it back. Move it forward. Listen to your elbows. If your elbows hurt, you're going too far. Bring it back. Bring it forward. And you want the bulk of the weight in the shoulders. And if the shoulders are really tight, then the elbows start to hurt because shoulders just they're not ready to move as much. Come back to the original position. You can take the head back. Right, and then you can bring the head forward and you can bring the hips down. And then bring your left leg on top of your right. So just take it on top. If you can, interlace your fingers around your left foot. So create a glove. If you can't do that, independently use the fingers in between the toes. And just take note of which toes may overlap. And that's what you can really work on, right? I'm not going to do this for long. You could. Slide my right foot back some of the way, and then maybe I'm bringing it back more, and then maybe I'm actually pulling the leg more to my chest. But there's a lot of ranges here. Doesn't look as impressive, but this is good. I mean, I definitely feel enough in adjusting my hip. Going closer looks more impressive, but it's not necessarily better. I'm trying to pull my leg to my face. So I'm even though my leg is supporting it, I'm trying to use the strength of my hip to take it closer and closer to my chest. And then you can slide the right foot forward, take the left leg down, bring the right leg on top, slide the left foot back in space. Can be a little bit, could be more forward, and depending on the day, one hip will be tighter. Typically it might be one side, right? Something like this, I feel a lot more in my left side than my right. But if I do pigeon, sometimes it's more, because it's more weight bearing, I may actually feel more on my right side. So I'm trying to pull my right leg to my chest. So again, remember when we were using the strap to support the foot, this is the same thing. It's just now the leg is supporting the leg, but you want to get the hip to be stronger. And then bring the left foot forward, and you can bring the left foot down. Come into a cross-legged position. As you sit cross-legged, take the left hand to the left, reach the right hand to the right, take the right hand behind the head. I say this all the time. If you have furniture around you, go up against your furniture, lean up against it, and that can be one of the best ways to help adjust your body, especially if you don't have a lot of flexibility to yourself. So I'm going to get to my left elbow and say, it's like, whoa, it's a lot, right? You just come up. You don't have to be down the whole time, and that's, when you start taking classes, hopefully eventually that'll happen for everyone, where we can be more public spaces, is that you don't have to be in the position the whole time, right? You can turn your upper body to the right. You can take the right arm up to the right side. You can bring yourself back up. You can recross the legs. And as you recross the legs, you're going to take the right hand to the right side. And with the right hand to the right, I'm just trying to get more weight in my left hip. And then I'm going to take my left hand behind my head. And then I'm going to get down to my right elbow if I can.
I know it's going to be the end of the class soon. Right?
Yeah, it's going to be the end soon, yeah. So I'm down on my right elbow if I can.
Do it.
And then I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to bring it down. And then I'm going to take it back up. And then when I come up, we're going to try to do an ankle to knee pose. So I find that easier than a cow face. Both are great positions. So my left leg is going to be on the bottom, and my right leg is going to be on top of my left leg. And I've been, manipulating the outside of the hip a lot in these classes. So as that gets easier, then this position will become more accessible to you. Now, if I slide my left foot in closer to me, it's much easier. Yeah.
I understand it. Fine, we can just do the class. Fine.
We could just do the class. I'm almost done. And then what I'm going to do is push my right hand into my right thigh, and I'm going to push it forward. So I'm adjusting more of the inner thigh.
I snuck in.
And then as I adjust the hip, and as I'm lifting up, another good way of doing this is, say this is way too difficult for you, have your feet together and do it in cobbler's pose. So this is a much easier position for people, right? But as you do this class, you can add on to what you're already doing, right? So I want to be wrinkle free in the right foot. If my foot's distorting, it'll travel into the knee, and then the knee can feel negative, right? You want the manipulation in the hip. And then you can release that and then bring the right leg on the bottom and bring the left leg on top. So the left leg is on top. You want the foot outside of the knee, the top foot, and then it's more hip related. If I'm here, it's ankle and it is knee. So it could be really negative in the knee. So you want it to be on the outside. Now if I'm not making fun of anybody, if you're sitting and you're more like this, you want to slide the right foot in, and then that could be your pose, right? But if I can, I want my bottom leg to be underneath my top leg. And you'll see an equilateral triangle in between your legs. So I'm pushing through the outside of my left foot, and then I'm pushing into my left thigh. And, it's not so much to get the pose to look better. As you manipulate the tissues and the joints, the poses will look better. You'll look better, right? You'll have a better practice. But it's not so much like I have to look like a yoga ad, in every position, right? So I'm moving my left thigh away from my pelvis, and there's lots and lots of layers to this. So I've been doing this pose well over 20 years. It's still interesting because there's a lot to it. And then you can release the foot. And then when you release the foot, go back to having the legs bent, have the hands underneath the shoulders, and then lift the hips up off the floor. As you lift the hips up, rotate the shoulders out. Again, the more you do in your hips, the easier it is to do extensions. And then bring the hips down, and then when you bring the hips down, lie back on your back. When you lie back on your back, have your knees bent, and you're going to have to move forward so that we both have room. And then once you're back, you can lie back. You have room. Then you can lift the hips up off the floor and generate more strength in the feet, in the hamstrings, and in the glutes. But I've mentioned this often. People get too caught up in lifting the hips when actually you want to be lifting the spine. It's not to say that you can't lift the hips higher. Of course you can do that. But you want to be extending through the spinal column, right? Take the right leg on top of the left leg if you can. So right is on top of left. I'm hooking my foot around my left knee, and I'm elevating through the pelvis, just like what we just did on the floor in a seated position. Bring the right foot down lightly, keep the hips up, and then take the left leg on top of the right leg. So push through the right foot, elevate through the pelvis, ground down through the shoulders. Think that I'm pulling your hips forward towards your right foot, and then that'll help, right? And then bring the left foot down, and then lower the hips down. And then if you need your, say you can't grab your foot, grab your strap. What you're gonna do is put the strap around your right foot. I'm gonna grab my foot with both of my hands. I'm gonna lift up towards the leg. So I'm gonna lift up towards the leg, just to stretch out my back. And then I'm gonna hold my big toe or the strap, and then I'm gonna take the leg up to the side, just to give you some variety. And this will help the ankle and the knee position. So my right heel is elevating and my toes are dropping. And then that'll help get more into the interior of the hip. Take a couple deep breaths here. I think I'm adding weight into the bottom leg, whichever leg that is for you. And then take that top leg up, and then come up with the head and the shoulders. And remember, you want to use your hands to pull in, right? Especially if you have weak arms or shoulders, right? Lats, it's a pulling action, right? But you want to get stronger through the hip flexors. You want to pull the leg in by using those hip flexors. And then come back down, head and shoulders. I'm going to switch over to the other side. Take the left leg up, and then with the left leg coming up, hold with your strap. If you're using a strap, the closer you get to the foot with the strap, right, the more leverage is. If I'm flexing the foot, that has its place. You could point the foot, right? I'm going to hold the big toe with my peace fingers, middle index fingers. I'll hold the big toe, and then I'm going to take the leg out to the left. And when I take it out to the left, I say this all the time. It's not that all the way out is bad, but as you get more practice in, that gets easier, and that's not to say that you shouldn't do that, but I haven't practiced midway as much, so that's actually more interesting than all the way out for me. But for you, you might want to take it all the way out. Get weight into your right side. Take a couple deep breaths here. Inhale, take the left leg up, and then you can lift up towards the left leg. You can hold the foot, you can lean back, and you could repeat this over and over and over again. And that's some of what I'll be doing in my restorative class on Wednesdays at 6:30. The Zoom class. That's a lot of people need this more, and it's a really great way to complement your practice. Then come back down with the head and the shoulders, and then you could have the knees bent. You could stretch the legs out in front of you. Breathe in, breathe out. Again, if you have to be somewhere, obviously it's better to sit, take a few moments, and then be on your way. But if you have the time to rest, so important, so valuable. So there's almost every day I'm practicing on a higher level, on a very physical level. And then there's days that I'll do more restorative work. So if that happens to be what you need, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually very progressive, right? Even though it's really gentle. So breathe in, breathe out. Just let the floor support you completely, and you'll feel your body relax. And that's, I've said this before, it's to really find peace and relaxation, I think is such a great thing to develop. And it might take some time for people, but it's so great to understand at some point. And if, again, you have more time and you want to rest more, please take it. But if you're ready to sit up, you can sit up, pull your knees into your chest, roll yourself up. You can bring your hands together. I had a great time today. Hope you're well. Stay safe. we love you, and hopefully you'll be able to take a class soon with me again. All right, have a great day. Namaste.